The key components to a computer is the case, power supply, in this case wireless LAN card, sound card, video card, hard drive, rear exhaust case fan, and most importantly the motherboard and the RAM. And the CPU is already installed on this motherboard, which will show you how to assemble everything into this computer. To install the motherboard, we'll take the motherboard and simply set it down into the case on these risers. The ones that I'm pointing at. And we'll screw these little case screws down to hold the motherboard in place. Okay, the next step is to install the RAM, random access memory. We got 2 sticks and 2 V6 that equal 512. The RAM is very simple to install. Okay, we open these slots here to install the memory or RAM. Line the RAM up with these slots on the motherboard, as shown here. Line it up and try to get it as evenly as possible. It takes a little force to get it. Try to push it as evenly as you can. Okay, and the second stick goes the exact same way. Now we can go on to installation of the HP card. So we can line it up and snap it down into place. And make sure it's flat. Push a little further until everything lines up. Okay, it is now installed. PCI cards such as the sound card and wireless LAN card go in similar. Instead they don't have a latch or anything. Just watch as I do it. Now the PCI card is installed into place, pretty much. Now the PCI cards and HP card are installed into the system. Next we will install the hard disk drive, which I've already pre-installed into this metal thing that goes with this case. It just slides right into there. There's a notch right here that this part here lines up on. It's that simple. Now we just take a screw and just stick the screw in there and tighten it up. Okay, the hard drive is installed into the case. One other vital component I didn't mention earlier about that goes into a computer is the CD/DVD drive or CD-ROM drive, comparing to what type you have. Now this slides into place as follows. As you can see here, I'm just gently sliding this thing. Sometimes I have to give it a little bit of wiggle. So I'm doing it one hand, so it's not quite that easy. And once it's lined up with these holes here, and you can see that it's lined up, you just stick the screws into place and your CD drive is installed. Now our CD drive is installed. Before we install the power supply in it, we will go ahead and hook up our things to the motherboard, like the power switch and the USB. We just have to look really carefully when there's not enough light. You have to look for the PWR label, which I see here. PWR. Just slide this into place. Okay, now the power button is installed. Now we just need to hook up the USB. Now the USB is installed into place. As you can see here. Now we are ready to install our power supply. To install the power supply, we simply take it like this, You can't see right yet. So gently put it down into place. Take a few wiggles every now and then. Get it quite perfectly lined up. Slide it in place and tighten the 4 screws. And then your power supply will be installed. And the next part of installing the power supply is to hook everything up to the peripherals. As you can see, the power supply unit has plenty of connectors. And to help have more neat install and push everything else out of the way, first I installed the motherboard connector. You just find down the motherboard, slide this into place till it clicks and it's in. Next, install the ATX 12-volt connector for the CPU power. Find a little place in the motherboard, and this here plugs into here. Push it in till it snaps. Then it's in. And now the next step is to hook the power supplies hookups up to the other peripherals like the hard disk drive, the drives, floppy drives, some DVD drives, stuff like that. Hook it to the hard disk. Like that. In other words, you just simply plug things in. Now for extra neatness, you just look at the hookups on the power supply, how they are wired. For optical drives like CD, DVD drive, and there's another 2 for hard drives, and maybe a few extra for hard drives, fans, and etc. Hook that up through there. Let's see. Keep this snug down there and keep it away from the CPU's fan. Push everything out of the way. Next, again, and stick the floppy drive's 4-pin connector into place. Just push it in, and it's in. And the key neatness is push everything out of the way. And next we'll be installing the IDE cables to the drives. The cable that goes to your hard disk drive is either an IDE cable or SATA cable. In this case, we got an IDE cable, and which is based on cable select. So you find the farthest connector out, and these slide right in. Just be careful not to bend any pins or anything. Just push it right on in and snug in. And then the same goes for the motherboard. You find the blue connector for the motherboard, and you just push it right on in. Same goes. It is installed. Next, you go for the ones that go to the CD drive. Once you notice the wires are a little bit bigger on this one because right near as many. Same goes for a hard drive. You install these. Same goes for the motherboard. Okay, now it's time to install the floppy cable, which is a little bit smaller. And I know which part that plugs in, which one you can't really tell, so it don't really matter on this one. It plugs in about the same as the motherboard. You just look for the notch and it's pushed into place. As you can see, we have assembled a computer. Well, we ain't quite finished yet. To install the fan, you just simply line the fan up with these holes here, and put the screws into place. And to finish installing the fan, you just hook the power connector up to a connector on the power supply. And the final step of assembling the computer, putting the case door on the case. And our computer is now assembled and ready to go. Assembling a computer system is quite simple. As simply as if you can plug stuff into things and put screws in, you can assemble a computer. That's simple.